Hey everybody, John Walworth for Photo and Teardrop here. It's going to be a couple of weeks until I head out into the Okefenokee Swamp with a friend of mine who I've known since I was 5 years old, if you can believe that. We're going to be doing some canoe camping and undoubtedly getting a lot of videos of alligators and birds and all kinds of things like that. So since I've got a little bit of time, I wanted to talk today about how you go about getting video that's not only clear but steady. One of the things that really irritates me when I'm watching a video is if it's really shaky and if the video is done really badly. And so I just wanted to go through some of the tools that I use today. I do a lot of traveling overseas and just traveling around the country. I travel in the teardrop. I travel sometimes just with a backpack on my back. And there's a number of tools that I use when I want to be able to get better video. And I'm going to go through starting with the tools that I always carry with me up to the ones that I might only carry if I've got the space and if I don't have, weight criteria that I have to deal with. So there's four main tools I use when I'm shooting video and a fifth that I use that's not really that orthodox, so I'm not going to talk too much about that today. But they are a tripod, which is the absolute must. I carry a small cage with me. I carry sometimes a gimbal, and I also use a slider sometimes as well. So in that order, those are going from absolutely have to maybe I need to have it. And the fifth one sometimes I use as a drone. Sometimes I'll use my drone as a gimbal or as a tripod, but I'll get into that in a different video. I'm not going to really talk about that today. But the first thing I'm going to do today is take a little bit of video without any of those tools, and I'm going to kind of give a benchmark for what video looks like without any of those tools, and then we're just going to go from there. And I'll start with the tripod and then I'll move on from that. So I'm just carrying my camera here right now, and I'm walking along and I'm shooting with an SLR camera, and I've got it at about a 50mm focal length. And if you notice, every step I make, there's a little bit of shake to it. It's not very steady, and if you were to be watching this all the time, you'd get seasick or get a headache, or you might just get annoyed with it enough to the point where you just don't want to watch it anymore. All right, now I'm doing a handheld pan, and it's not too bad, but if you look on the horizon line, that's where your eye really gets drawn to, and it's pretty shaky over there too, so it would really be kind of annoying to have to watch this. Now you can stabilize some of this in post-production, but as with photography and the video, it's the same thing. If you shoot it right the first time, you don't have to go back and fix it later. All right, so now I have the same scene on a good fluid head tripod. You notice that the horizon is not shaking up and down. You can do a lot smoother pan back and forth. When you're panning, it's good to not just jerk it back and forth really quick. Shooting with a tripod also, you can of course just take steady static shots as well. You can zoom in with your lens, and you free up your hands when you do that as well. So this is just a short zoom in here. All right, so the tripod is also good, of course, for if you're doing interviews, for things like that, like we're doing right now, where we just want to be able to set it up and focus on one point and keep the camera steady. Now, I'm going to be cutting out to different scenes that I've shot with in other places, because this is kind of a dreary scene today. One of the reasons I'm doing this video today is because the weather's not that great and I can't get out and do some of the other things. But I'm going to cut through to some other scenes that I've shot in other countries and other places. First using a tripod and then using the other tools as well. Okay, so the next tool I'm going to talk about is a cage. And if I'm going to go shoot video anywhere, I'm going to carry at least the tripod and a cage with me. Those are the bare minimums I need to have, and they're the easiest ones to carry. All right, so the cage can be really simple or can be really complicated. The one I have is really simple here. It's just a curved piece of metal, and it's got a mount for your tripod mount for your camera. And it just hooks in there like that. It's got an accessory spot, so you can put a shotgun mic onto it or some other microphone paraphernalia. But instead of holding a camera like this, like you would normally, which is kind of shaky, it allows you to hang the camera just below, and it uses the weight of the camera itself to steady it just a little bit. And I'm also able to use two hands this way. I'm able to move around like that. Whereas if I'm holding the camera, you know, you're just inherently more shaky holding it like that. So this way I can do a little bit of walking around, I can do a little bit of turning, a little bit of panning, I can tilt, and it's just steadier because it's using the weight of the camera itself as a stabilizer. Now the other thing about having a cage, especially if you're doing on-the-fly shooting, travel photography, travel shooting like I am, is that you're able to come in and get some detail shots, and they're fairly steady right off the bat, right out of the camera. And so you can come into DaVinci Resolve or whatever program you're using, you know, if you're using Adobe or whatever, and you can just steady it afterwards, and it's a lot better than if you'd just been holding the camera in the first place. You get some really good usable detail shots. All right, so the next tool that I carry with me, and this is when we start moving into that maybe territory, maybe I'll take this with me, maybe I won't, and that is a gimbal. This is a DJI Ronin S, and this is a device that keeps your camera steady whether you're moving forward, backwards. It's a motorized device. It's got a gyroscope inside it, and you can mount different cameras on this, but the thing is, it starts to get a little more complicated because every time you change a camera or change a lens, you have to rebalance it, but it does a really good job of keeping your shots steady, especially if you're walking around. But as you can see, it just keeps it really smooth, whether I'm going backwards or forwards, and it's got a joystick on it so I can tilt the camera up, tilt it down, tilt it sideways, back and forth. And if I want to recenter it, I just double click it and it's right back on again. The disadvantage of this, of course, is that it starts getting heavy after you carry this for quite a while. But if you're going to be doing any professional shoots, if you're going to be doing a lot of walking around, if you want to be able to follow people, follow objects, this is really good because it counters all of your motions when you're walking with it. All right, so the last tool I'm going to talk about today, and this is obviously the heaviest one, this is the hardest one to carry with you, is the slider. And it's hard to carry around, it's heavy, but if you want to up your game with your video shots, this is a good way to do it. You can spend a lot of money on these, but you can also get it fairly inexpensively. I think this one was actually fairly inexpensive, maybe $250, something like that. And it's not motorized, but it does have a counterweight on it. And what this does is it allows you to slide your camera in a very fluid motion over just a little bit of distance, and it takes what would have been just a static, boring shot, and it gives just a little bit of motion to it, and it smooths out that shot. Now you can put this on a tripod as well, so you can have it up higher than this, but since I'm using the tripod for the other camera I'm shooting with, I'm not going to do that today. You can also go different directions with it. For instance, if you want to be leading into the shot, you can do it like that and just kind of go towards the subject or away from it. You can mount it on a couple of different planes, for instance. So like if I had had a log here or something like that, and then as the ground is over here, I could straighten the camera out this way, and I can just have it slowly move from one plane to the next. Of course, wouldn't be using my leg like this, but you get the idea. All right, so that's pretty much it for the tools that I use when I'm traveling and shooting video. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. We have more content like this. We have travel content, we have traveling in a teardrop, we have drone content, just all things to do with traveling and taking videos and photographs. And we'll see you next time. And until then, if you have questions or comments, go ahead and put them down in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Thanks a lot. So a cage can be really simple, or it can get complicated. The one I have is just really simple here. It's just a curved piece of metal that you... Okay. Yeah, that didn't work well.